All right. This is another episode of Whatever Happened to the Game. Today we're talking about how they have brought some video games into film or television. I guess you'd say internet streaming, if that's the technical way of saying it, for some of them. Right, Albeleo? And this is Albeleo.
Yeah.
So here I am from eastern Pennsylvania, and I believe you're coming in from Michigan, right?
No, Illinois.
Illinois, okay.
Yep.
I don't know why I thought Michigan. Anyways.
That's okay.
No, so we're getting started. We're going to talk about and be asking each other questions because we haven't seen the same series, but so we're going to be asking each other questions about it as part of this live stream. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And first, before we get fully into it, we recommend StreamYard. It's inexpensive, easy to use. You can do there's so much you can do on the most basic membership here. So as of right now, I can do up to 5 guests on a live stream. You can do up to 10 if you get a premium membership. But this is the most basic membership I'm using right here, and it can do quite a bit. It does quite a bit more on your PC than it does on a phone, because you can use it on a phone as well. So without much of that, after this recommendation, we're going to get started. These are our recent works. I enjoyed your Godzilla -1 review the most. I'll take some time and take a look at the Inside Out one. And I've just done a monster file, and I recommended some games myself. So that's the recommended games has been out for some time. But those are our recent works. So this is something I figured I'd show on our as we start here. So, all right. So I'm going to be asking you for a little description here, Albeleo, about Five Nights at Freddy's, because they finally made a movie about it.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Five Nights at Freddy's itself, as a franchise, is haunted Chuck E. Cheese. Basically, that's really all it is. The developer Scott Cawthon originally was making all kinds of really, really low budget games all across the board. I think he made a few Bible-based ones, and then he shifted over and was like, all right, screw it, I'm just going to make this. And it happened to take off and just kind of like dominated the horror, pansies screaming into the cameras on Twitch scene, and it usurped everything.
I mean, I did that, and the one my oldest son plays is a Garden of Ban. That's the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Monsters going around, you're just trying to run away from them or escape them. And I think it's the same at Five Nights at Freddy's, right? And isn't Freddy the bear mascot?
Yeah. So there's Freddy, Chica the duck, or chicken, actually. I don't remember which one. I'm pretty sure she's a duck. Then you got Bonnie the rabbit, and then you've got Foxy the fox. They're like it's incredibly straightforward, incredibly simple. The first game I think is like maybe like 5 megabytes. Like, it's a tiny game, but it sold like hotcakes, and it took them forever to finally make a movie, which I'm stunned it took as long as it did.
Yeah, like there was no television adaptation of this, was there? It just went straight to a movie in 2023?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the lore behind everything is incredibly deep, and that's what pulled everybody in, because the first one was kind of a mystery, and then the second one added to the mystery, and so on and so forth, down to the point that you had people that were doing like the online investigation of people trying to figure out what the story was and why was so incredible. You had people that were complaining about literal pixel differences in order to figure out all of the mystery in this. Like that's how infatuated the audience has become with this franchise.
Wow.
Matt Pat at Game Theory basically made his career doing FNAF videos.
Oh, wow. So how did you feel that, how did you feel the changes from the game story were in terms of serving up a film?
I had to go back and watch my review because it's been so long. I described it as a faithful slog because, yeah, on the one hand, it's like, for what it is, it's accurate enough that most people are going to be like, oh, this is literally Five Nights at Freddy's. Awesome. But on the other hand, if you know the lore and deep dived everything like I did, you're going to want to rip your hair out because you're like, this is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not a worthless watch, but I could understand why a lot of people, myself included, weren't too impressed, because it really does forget to be scary, which is what the whole basis of the game was.
Yeah. 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 Sometimes hard doesn't he? Sometimes I don't know. It's hard to, I guess it'd be hard to see these things as scary unless you went into the game itself, where you're. And I've only watched videos of FNAF, but it's you have parts in the dark, you have things sneaking up on you, that kind of scary. And I don't know. It'd be interesting how you could play that. Okay, so yeah, this one's Twisted Metal. So the funniest part is the story of how the David Jaff and Scott Campbell came up with this. So they were trying to get a video game franchise that was unique to Sony PlayStation, because this is late 1994 when they were trying to do this, because the first one came out in 1995. They wanted to have a game series that was special to the PlayStation because it was relatively new. It was late 1994 when Sony PS1 came out and debuted. So they were starting, and they got frustrated in the most relatable way because they were stuck in traffic on the way into Los Angeles. But any of us can relate to that, going into a major metro area. I can relate to it trying to get into. Yes, I can relate to it trying to get into Philadelphia. I mean, if someone from outside of Pennsylvania is going to Philadelphia, I'm going to tell them, look, take the train to Philadelphia. Traffic sucks. I'm pretty sure it's the same for LA.
Wow.
So they just said, why don't we make a game where where people drive cars around and blow each other up? And that was Twisted Metal.
Huh. Well, that's definitely relatable.
Yeah, it is, because you could just insert major metropolitan area here and describe, wow, traffic sucks getting in there.
Yeah. So I'm only 4 episodes in, and not impressed.
I'm not either. I mean, it's a slog, because they tease you with a little bit of like vehicular combat, but it's mostly trying to play off, the main character played by Anthony Mackie is John Doe. So they're mostly trying to play off the Twisted Metal reboot, because they had Twisted Metal 1 through 4 on the PS1, and then PlayStation 2 was a reboot of the whole thing. And John Doe was part of that reboot. Same with Stone, who race swapped with Thomas Hayden Church. I mean, I think Thomas Hayden Church is great, but Stone is a black guy in Twisted Metal Black, where he shows up.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, Thomas Hayden Church is great, but they switched him up. But John Doe, except for the fact that Anthony Mackie isn't bald, he was very much close to the appearance of John Doe, and Sweet Tooth the Clown is mostly how the appearance that he started with in Twisted Metal Black. In the PS1 ones, he just had a normal clown suit, like a circus clown, usually green or purple, and he had the fire hair. But yeah, this series is a long slog of you waiting for the major vehicular battle on the last season finale. So it's basically 2 plot points, and you've probably seen a little bit of the 2 major plot threads they follow. One with the clown, the other one with John Doe and Quiet, who's an original character to this series. And it's them meeting the characters that they will meet in the end of the season. And all I can say is, from playing the games and watching the series is that a lot of people will be bored with this series trying to watch it through one season of 8 episodes. A lot of people would. I mean, they've even got episodes where it's filler and they don't do much.
Yeah, a lot of the situations and scenes drive me insane. Like the only thing I've really enjoyed thus far is that it's basically just Deadpool humor where it's just joke after joke after joke.
Yeah.
Not all, like almost none of them land, but I do appreciate what they're trying to go for, and I really like Evelyn because I had a Subaru myself, and I've always had a bias towards Subarus.
Oh no,
But,
that's our family sedan too, or hatchback rather, is a Subaru Impreza. It's worked pretty well for us so far. I mean, we just needed some kind of car with all-wheel drive because in Pennsylvania it does snow here and you get muddy in some places.
I gotcha. Yeah, I'm actually really interested by the fact that they race swapped the cop.
Yeah.
That that actually it adds ammo to an argument I've been looking to make about things, but that's great. Cool.
I mean, the overall story hasn't changed too much about Stone because he was a security in the mall like he was in the series. It's just that in Twisted Metal Black, he's a black guy. He's a black man, and he's Thomas Hayden Church, obviously, in this streaming series. But it's the same idea as that he messed up being a mall cop, and now he's basically in the Twisted Metal Black, he's a criminal, so he wants his wish granted. And that's the thing that they didn't quite get into in this series. They teased Calypso, the demon who grants wishes, and he runs the Twisted Metal death match. They teased Calypso being there, and Calypso is the guy that the package is going to be picked up from, but they don't show him in full. They're only going to show him in season 2, and he's going to be played by Kerrigan, the Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted. The actor who plays the Grim Reaper in Bill and Ted.
Really?
Yes. And
also, I didn't know it was a demon.
Oh no! Calypso made a deal with the devil, and one of the jokes in Twisted Metal 2 is that you can actually play as Satan in the game, and if you win as Satan, Satan's only wish to Calypso is, "I want to bring you back to hell."
Oh, good lord!
Like there are these hilariously awful, like dark humored endings in the Twisted Metal games based on how people want their wishes granted.
Okay.
So don't join Twisted Metal because don't join the vehicular death match because Calypso will never grant your wish well, unless you're Sweet Tooth the Clown, because Sweet Tooth the Clown is basically Deadpool as a clown, and he has some kind of fourth wall breaking awareness.
No.
So what are some questions you have for me about it after season 1?
Oh well, I'm sure I'll have more if we want to go over it at a later time because I got 6 more to go.
We will.
But so how accurate is the show to the games, or rather to the source material?
Okay, so the whole idea that technology shut off in the 21st century. That's something made up for the series. I mean,
okay.
Obviously, John Doe having to be a delivery man or a milkman, as they call him in the series, that's something that made the plot have a vehicle or a lens to see things through as they introduce John Doe and the clown to various characters, which they'll meet in the end. But no, that losing technology was not a thing of the Twisted Metal series. They're basically supernatural car combat, and they just occur all over the world while life goes on. It's that messed up.
Oh.
In the series, there's no apocalypse. There's no tech apocalypse in the series. That is a point in the Battle Tanks, which is another game of the late 90s and early 2000s, but that wasn't Twisted Metal. But basically, okay, so it's supernatural, and almost no one else seems aware that Twisted Metal is going on.
Gotcha. Okay, so that was probably just done to help like cut the budget, because I would, unless they had an actual budget to be able to do things, because that's the CGI in this is not particularly good.
Right, and a lot of these scenes are using actual cars as CGI for like gun flashes. So using actual cars and drivers for stunts, that costs you money as well. So I guess if there's anything that they saved the death match for the last episode of the season, it's just because of, like you said, the budget. I mean,
Mhm.
making PlayStation games back in the 90s and early 2000s, that was, that wouldn't cost you as much given how the assets of the time were, and how the just how much data the game involved back then. But making an actual ice cream truck and the using the actual Subaru car and the other cars, which they did some actual stunt driving in the series, that costs money.
Yeah, it's just too bad the budget didn't go towards the writers, because that opening fight in the mall just drove me insane.
Yeah, it was they're throwing a ton of Easter eggs at you. Like there was a Twisted Metal game CD
I
that
I, I
landed
did
on the
catch
wind
that.
show.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then he just wipes it off. He's like, "The hell's that?"
and John treats the steering wheel like a PlayStation controller, and he does the actual up
Yeah, the code.
arrow
I
code.
did catch that.
But most of what I ever enjoyed about this film was just the clown, because he's just ridiculous. Everything about him is ridiculous.
Yeah, there are so many things that just keep happening to happen. There's a small detail that drove me insane, and that's the margarita that got emptied by the bag. Like that threw me for such a loop. I was like, "What are the rules? Like, how does this work?"
That reminds me of another PC video game adaptation on streaming, but we can talk about it later.
Oh,
But yeah, it's basically things just happening, and there's Sweet Tooth the clown, which at least he's ridiculous and he has like fourth wall breaking humor to kind of make me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt that some characters kind of got the short end, like Mike and Stu. They're supposed to be the guys who drive a monster truck. They didn't hang around with the clown.
Oh, okay.
And I just felt that it should have been, there's the lady named Raven. It should have been Calypso instead of Raven that sent John Doe to pick up the package. I just would have preferred Calypso, given how iconic Calypso is to Twisted Metal. I wish it was Calypso that sent him to pick up the package in the beginning instead of
Gotcha.
Raven.
Yeah, the I cannot stand watching the desynced audio for Sweet Tooth. Drives me nuts, because the actor is obviously talking, and the voice will stop and he's still jabbering on, and it's like, well, how did you guys do this early 90s dub crap?
The way they did it was they had like Samoa Joe, which hearing Samoa Joe, he wouldn't have sounded that bad for the clown, honestly. I mean, I watched interviews with Samoa Joe on the series. Like, really, they had to. I mean, I don't dislike Will Arnett. I think his voice works, like in Lego Batman and a few other cases. But they could. I just feel they could have just done Samoa Joe's voice. I mean, he doesn't sound bad for what the clown should have, for the clown voice at all. I mean, he's this, he's this bulked wrestling dude, but considering that they had him physically there in costume as the clown, I don't know why they just didn't have his voice for that too. Because I mean, it matches with the kind of body that the clown has, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like they were trying to add more. It feels like they were trying to add more names, because Anthony Mackie, and like he's big because of being the Falcon and Captain America now.
Right.
But you're not gonna. Nobody's flocking to the theaters because of Sandman. Like nobody cares. It's like
I'm not sure who
like,
was even. I mean, that was
Will Arnett.
2007. I mean, I felt that Thomas Hayden Church worked as a cop gone bad, like he was in this. But
sure.
I don't know. I'm not sure how many people would remember Sandman or have seen Spider-Man 3 or George of the Jungle.
Oh God, he was in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Linus in George of the Jungle.
Wow. Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that.
I mean, I didn't see it in theaters. I just saw it later on DVD. It's like, wow, it's Linus is the same, and he's. But I think he fit. That was one of the cases where he did the portrayal of a really crooked cop in a lawless wasteland pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just that there was this long slog of you waiting for the actual death match, which is what they call Twisted Metal for. You had to wait to the last episode of the season to see it.
At least the episodes aren't particularly long. Now, they probably just cut them down in half to extend the series to 8 episodes, or to 10 episodes, because otherwise it would be 5, but it doesn't take long to get through it.
No, it doesn't. It's also Peacock, too. I mean, most of it isn't my cup of tea, so to speak. Most of what Peacock from Sony has on streaming isn't my cup of tea.
I'm honestly surprised Peacock is actually still like doing anything.
I mean, it's affiliated with Sony Columbia Pictures, but yeah, I doubt. I mean, it's obviously not Netflix level in terms of the audience or the statistics that it has. All right, so this is one we both know a little bit. No, both know for one way or another. Sonic the Hedgehog. So yeah, I know it because I played now they have the original Sonic the Hedgehog games on mobile phones, so I just played around with those because I was bored. And obviously, my children are young enough that they are kind of stuck liking Sonic, so they remind me about it, even if I'm not playing it right now.
Yeah, my queen knows way more about Sonic, and she's quite a bit more opinionated about it. But I do know the 2 movies at least.
But at least this one has been on television quite a while. It goes back to 1993, 2 years after the first game, and it gets even funnier when you realize that it's Jaleel White or Steve Urkel voicing Sonic.
Wow, really?
Yeah, did I just voice that?
Oh no.
And then there's the whole deal back in 2019, 2020 when they were when they had to re-edit how Sonic appeared to make him look more like the video game because the eyes were too small, too skinny of a body. That's the top one.
Yeah, they did such a heavy redesign for him, and it's good that they did. I don't know why on earth they thought this was a good direction.
I mean, especially when they clearly could have done the actual something closer to the video games. They just had to change the eye size, change his proportions a bit, and he looks like the games.
I mean, it's a shame too, because that's one of the few times that a company has been like properly cyberbullied into actually doing something right, and it's a shame that they shut down because of the change.
The animation studio,
yeah, the cost to do it was so the cost to redesign Sonic was so massive that they ended up shutting down, and it's a shame, really.
It is, especially when they've made. Obviously, they've gone to the way of making more than one after that.
Yep.
I guess the one thing I did enjoy is just, I mean, I know this isn't new for Sonic being in the real world with people, because that was actually in the animated television series Sonic X, where he went into our world, obviously animated, not live action. But I just feel there's a lot of things that just never brought it up or never ham-fisted about Thomas and Maddie, the couple that takes Sonic in the film. They didn't say, okay, this is a mixed couple or anything of that sort. They just said, we have a story. They're the couple that took in Sonic, and that's it.
Yep. It's the same thing with it's the same thing with how they, with one line, hinted at Stu and Mike being a couple in Twisted Metal, but they don't harp on any of it.
Yeah.
And it's like
I mean,
that's exactly what everyone has been saying for the longest time. We don't actually care so much about the sexuality or the pushing of politics until it's forced. That's when it becomes a problem.
right, and let the story come first. Everything else will
Exactly.
go into place. So yeah, so and apparently they have another Sonic coming, and they're adding, I believe it's
Shadow.
Shadow. Yeah,
Yep, they're
voiced
bringing
by.
in the edgiest character ever.
Wasn't there like a robot Sonic or something, or am I not remembering it right?
Yeah, no, there is a Robo Sonic. There's a litany of characters. It's kind of nuts.
Uh.
There's also Silver, the time traveling hedgehog. Yeah, like Sonic was just like, oh, cool, Dragon Ball's really popular. Let's just take Trunks and put him here.
Oh my. Wait, does he have custom shoes too? It
Yes.
sounds like I'm hearing a description of like a basketball player or a track runner.
Yeah, no. Silver is like this. Well, I think he's like a silver looking hedgehog, but I'm pretty sure he's got like his own shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, well, they're hardly shoes. They look more like boots, and everything's like a gold bracelet, like actual gold.
Oh my.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting that they're going to go into Shadow. I mean, obviously it makes sense because Shadow's like the most popular character next to Sonic. But yeah, if they end up bringing in Silver, it's going to get nutty.
Well, I guess with whatever it was actually like 80 million for just, obviously it was more if you include the marketing for the first Sonic movie, but it was 80 million for production. 85 million, sorry. So
okay, so call one
like 450 million against, yeah, against 170, that's profitable, so that's why they made sequels after that.
Yeah. Yeah, anything like in excess of 200 million, because I don't remember what Sonic pulled, but the first one,
I know what the production was, but not the marketing for the first one.
Well, as I've described before, you can usually safely, conservatively estimate the production to be 50%, and then attribute that to both marketing and distribution.
All
And
right.
so generally you can just double it, and that's a really conservative estimate, and that's what the actual cost of the movie is, because you have to make the movie, you have to get the movie to theaters, and you have to
Pay for
advertise the movie.
advertising. So you have
So
to pay for the
that's what
various,
that is. So
yeah.
production, distribution, and marketing, and that's how you get it. Now, again, those are all just safe estimates. It's a rule of thumb. It's not, there are exceptions like I recently learned that the first Quiet Place movie apparently like totally abandoned the cost of certain things like I think it was like their distribution or something. Like it was almost entirely word of mouth, and the movie just took off. So their distribution cost was actually like 5 million or something like that. It was something pathetically small, and then the movie made an extreme amount of money. So it's like this is a massive success.
So wait, so the first A Quiet Place, was that a summer film where they had a couple months to run it in theaters?
I believe so. Real quick on Sonic, it looks like the budget was 90 million. So the
Okay,
movie
so I
was,
was off.
well, that's okay because the movie is 180 million, which wasn't much higher than what we guessed. And the box office looks to be 320 million. So
Okay, so I got my movies mixed up.
even if you slash it in half, it was profitable.
Yeah. All right.
And Quiet Place had a budget of 17 million. When was it released? Release dates were March and April, so it was a spring movie.
Okay.
It was a spring movie. It had a production budget of 17 million, so you could probably call it like, let's just call it 20 million presumably
Right.
for everything because it has such a low budget. But it made 341. So that movie was that. So that movie was profitable literally 10 times over.
Hi, Captain. How are you doing today? So this is Captain Sarong. He does a lot of retro PlayStation games. Hope you're doing well, Captain.
Cool. Hello. Ahoy.
So that's crazy. It's crazy how some films managed to get the budget which they did.
Yeah, well, that's why low budget horror movies are like the undisputed king of trying
Profitability
to make
because
money back.
right, because you don't take that much of a hurdle to get it, and there's obviously horror fans out there like myself who are going to watch it.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, this massive movie that we just made and just sank the company failed. Quick, release a slew of paranormal activities.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I haven't kept track how many paranormal activities there are.
There's like 7, bro. Like it's just. And by the way, real quick, it just as something. So like something I want to write for at a later time, just as a quick note. Half of the time, these horror movies are so low in budget that the entire production budget can be written off for taxes.
Pretty much.
No, literally, like the tax write-off limit goes up to like it's like $15 or $20 million.
Yeah, it's true. That's
so
true.
they just make a movie for free.
Pretty much.
That's wild to me. I anyway.
Well, I mean, the general principle in corporate taxes is that if you have a net gain, that's what's taxable. But if your company as an entity loses money, that's when you don't. But obviously, you don't want to lose money because you can't keep losing money as a company. But right, there've been a couple of movies that have, had discounts depending on what state, such as Texas or somewhere in California as well, because you used that state to film the movie. They're offering to give you a discount to encourage you to make more of your movies in that state.
Yeah, or you can just film in other outside locations like England for other cost reductions.
Right. Yeah. So now, while we're here at the end, we're just going to be talking about upcoming attractions. So we're going to be talking about Castlevania Part 3 next time. After that, we're going to try practicing with how to use this StreamYard setup. So we'll have a week off after we talk about Part 3 of Castlevania. Sure. Other than that, we're going to talk about retro games we recommend. So that should be pretty fun.
Oh, excuse me. Cool. Yeah, I would. I'm looking forward to the Castlevania one. I just got done watching this like massive, what was it, like 6 or 7 hour retrospective on like the whole franchise.
Surely you didn't watch it on one sitting. Well,
oh god, no. No, I had to take that in bites. With my schedule, there was no way. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. He only talked about the video games specifically, so thankfully I could get through quite a bit more with less headache.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can see 6 hours, but I mean, did they really go that detail on every single game?
Yes.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah, dude spent like 15 or 20 minutes on the first game alone.
Wow.
and he even did other details like Vampire Killer, I believe.
Wow. Oh, the music. Wow, that's pretty good.
No, not the music. What was the other? What was the other? The game? Is it Vampire Killer or
MSX for Vampire Killer for MSX, where you go around finding keys to Simon? Yeah.
Yeah. Like he covered like every one of the games all the way up through to the final Lord's Shadow game.
Lords of Shadow 2. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe I'll take a look in the. Maybe I'll, if you send me the link. Maybe I'll put that video in the description, or I'll save it. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I'll save it for the next Castlevania episode. But wow, that's pretty thorough.
I finished a video game. That's the channel, and I'm sorry, it's 7 hours and 20 minutes. Dude went through the entire series, and he was pretty fair and objective about it. So it was, I really liked it.
Yeah.
He also did Dino Crisis and Parasite Eve too, which really interested me.
Yeah. So, for any of those who are watching now or later, I'm going to have a poll up soon about what topics you want to hear in these streams, and be sure to vote in it. So it'll be in a community post later today. So about what topics we can show. But I mean, this is short. But anything you want to ask me about Twisted Metal or Sonic?
Does Twisted Metal get better?
I'd say the first game is a rough shot or a rough run through is a rough start. It's their experimental. They had tons of cut content using the CD because they actually had actual video of people making the wishes with Calypso. But they didn't end up seeing it in the game. You have to actually go into the disc on your PC to find the video files about for Twisted Metal, the first one. The second one, it was that and number 3 are essentially the peak of the series before they reboot it, because in Twisted Metal 2 and 3, they actually use motion comics to show the beginning and end of your character story when you choose to play as a character. And number 2, Twisted Metal 2 is when you finally get Mike and Stu, and the difference there is that they're not just following the clown; they have their own monster truck in the tournament.
Okay,
they're 2 teenagers from a Los Angeles high school with a monster truck.
Well, they're not teenagers now.
No, not anymore. Plus, the PS1 was when they actually made. It was before they gave Twisted, the Sweet Tooth the Clown, the shirtless outfit like he has in the series. But Twisted Metal Black was when they actually used video, and then same with Twisted Metal 2012.
Oh, okay.
But I liked Twisted Metal Black because some of the characters got interesting. Like the Sweet Tooth had a cool story of where he got his head is burning because he got a curse or he can't die, but he has to live in pain. Right before he got executed in the electric chair, but the curse made him survive the electric chair. But now he has his head permanently on fire. And they don't do it in the Twisted Metal series until the end, where the Sweet Tooth soaks his head in lighter fluid, and he asks Stu to light it up with the lighter.
Okay. I was wondering how they're gonna explain that one.
Well, yeah, because he soaked his head in lighter fluid and had Stu light it. But the big disappointment is that it take all these episodes to really do the death match with cars.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
which they will get to.
I mean, if they've got Calypso in the season 2, which they teased with Sweet Tooth, so spoiler alert, he isn't dead. Which is why I also consider him to be Deadpool, because he doesn't seem to die no matter what happens to him, even in the games. I mean, he gets car crashes, bullets, stabbed in the eye. He doesn't seem to die from any of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one seems to die in this series so far, unless their name is not attached to the higher billing, because that first fight in the mall, he was dead. I don't know how you miss with a 50 cal mounted.
I bet it's because John was entering the invincibility code on his PlayStation controller steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why.
So goofy.
It is. But no, it's better as a video game. Like it was the perfect like multi. It was people liked it for just multiplayer, car versus car. Same with battle tanks,
Mhm.
which I'd want to with battle tanks for N64. I'd want to try to figure a way to net play with somebody on that someday.
I'm sure there's a way.
Yeah, there's got to be. Maybe if they finally decide to put battle tanks on the Switch store and use the Switch controller instead of the N64 one.
You got to do it with the 64. The goofy ass controller.
Yeah, because because battle tanks is you drive tanks, so you're obviously when you're controlling a tank, you got to rotate the turret and move the tank, and it gets a little annoying with N64 controls, but you kind of get used to it after a while. But that was where they got the whole idea of the technology apocalypse, where a technology apocalypse is the setting for how the game is so ridiculous with tanks. That wasn't really a Twisted Metal thing. I mean, Twisted Metal is something that goes on in the real world, and people are like, "What's going on? Why is it?" And it gets worse because there's actual pedestrians that you could run over, whether by accident or they're just in your way when you're doing the deathmatch levels.
That's probably part of it.
But yeah. Either way, I hope everyone who is watching and who has enjoyed watching this so far will enjoy it, and we will see you next week with episode 3 of Castlevania, so of our Castlevania series. And just to let everyone know, the episodes of our live streams are going to be up on Rumble. I have somewhat of a delay because they have to process it first. Either way, anything else to say, Albeleo, before we hit the road?
Well, look forward to a stream on Friday night. I'll be continuing Fallout, and I will have a new video. If not at 3, it'll probably be a little later, but I will be doing a new video as well for Friday.
I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be streaming earlier on Friday. I'll be streaming Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I'm going to try and beat that game. So I'm unofficially doing Legend of Zelda in July. It's a funny thing that myself and another channel called Captain N decided to do for the fun of it, playing Legend of Zelda games in the month of July. So I'll have his link in the description.
Cool.
Either way, hope you're all having a wonderful time, and until we meet again, farewell.
Yeah, have a good day, everybody.